Remember Oreo Big Stuff, Keebler, Magic, Middles, or even Hubba Bubba soda. The 1980s overflowed with bold snacks that promised magic but failed spectacularly. From oversized cookies to bubblegum soda, these treats vanished almost as fast as they appeared. Before we begin, hit like and subscribe. Today we revisit 10 famous snacks from the 1980s that failed miserably. Picture a summer afternoon in the 1980s when kids rushed home from school and tore into their lunchboxes hoping for something sweet. Instead of the familiar small Oreos, imagine pulling out a cookie nearly the size of your palm, the Oreo Big Stuff. Wrapped individually like a prize, it felt less like a snack and more like an event. The taste was everything you expected, chocolate wafers hugging that creamy white filling, but magnified to the point where each bite was almost overwhelming. One cookie alone packed enough sweetness to last the whole afternoon. Friends would crowd around asking for a piece because sharing was the only way to finish it. Yet that very excess became its downfall. At a time when people were reaching for quick, light snacks, a giant cookie that was 10 times larger than normal proved impractical. Nabisco quietly retired it in 1991 after only 7 years. Still, those who tried it never forgot. The Oreo Big Stuff wasn't just a cookie. It was a symbol of the decade's bigger is better spirit, a reminder of when even dessert came in oversized dreams. Close your eyes and step into 1989, where TV jingles promised a little magic hidden inside your cookie. Keebler introduced Magic Middle's soft golden cookies that looked plain on the outside but broke open to reveal a gooey fudge or peanut butter center. That first bite, crumbly shell giving way to warm sweetness, felt like discovering a secret meant just for you. Kids traded them in lunchrooms, parents tucked them into after-school snacks, and for a brief moment, they were the kind of treat that made you pause mid-conversation just to enjoy the surprise inside. The ads captured that feeling, perfectly simple cookies that weren't simple at all, but the magic was short-lived. Rumors spread that they were costly to produce, and Keebler shifted focus to safer sellers. By the late 1990s, Magic Middles had vanished, leaving only commercials and cravings behind. And yet their memory lingers in the collective sweet tooth of a generation, proof that sometimes the smallest surprises are the ones we remember most vividly. If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. Imagine walking down a candy aisle in the 1980s, your eyes darting past Skittles and Starburst, when suddenly you spot Bonkers. These chewy fruit squares hit a softer, juicier center that made every bite feel like a burst of flavor exploding in your mouth. The commercials matched that intensity, giant pieces of fruit crashing from the sky, knocking people off their feet in slapstick chaos. For a kid, it was impossible not to laugh and beg your parents for a pack. For a few years, Bonkers felt unstoppable. Their chewy texture stood out, their ads became playground catchphrases, and they offered something different in a crowded market. But when the flashy ads disappeared, so did the excitement. Starburst and Skittles proved easier to market and easier to love long term. By the early 1990s, Bonkers quietly left store shelves. Still, anyone who unwrapped those fruity squares remembers them as pure fun, a candy that made you feel like the world might just rain fruit any second. Thinking back now, which would you choose to relive, the oversized Oreo Big Stuff, the gooey Magic Middles, or the explosive Bonkers Candy? Picture the familiar ritual of Girl Scouts going door to door in the 1980s, arms full of cookie boxes, smiles wide with excitement. But tucked among Thin Mints and Samoas was something unexpected: golden Yangles. Instead of sweet cookies, these were cheddar cheese crackers shaped like little triangles, their savory crunch breaking tradition in the most curious way. Open a box and the aroma of sharp cheese filled the room, a surprise for anyone expecting chocolate or coconut. Parents found them fun for cocktail parties, while kids slipped them into lunch boxes as a quirky alternative to chips. For a brief window, it seemed the Girl Scouts had found a new lane. But the experiment didn't last. Cookie buyers wanted the comfort of sweetness, not something that tasted like a snack aisle cracker. By the early 1990s, golden Yangles quietly disappeared from the order forms, becoming one of the odder chapters in Girl Scout history. Today they're remembered less for flavor and more as a wait, did that really happen moment, a savory blip in a tradition otherwise built on sugar and nostalgia. Think back to the mid-1980s, when opening your lunchbox sometimes meant being greeted by a smiling face. Giggles Cookies weren't just another sandwich cookie, they literally grinned at you. With fudge or vanilla cream peeking through cutout eyes and mouths, these treats felt like a playful wink from your dessert. Kids loved showing them off, holding them up to their own faces before taking a bite, laughter echoing across cafeteria tables. The flavor was familiar enough, sweet, comforting, not far from Oreos, but the design made them unforgettable. Commercials showed happy children, bright packaging added to the fun, and for a few years they truly stood out. Yet the novelty faded. By the early 1990s, Giggles were gone, outpaced by sturdier, more iconic cookies that could stand the test of time. What lingers now is less about taste and more about that cheeky grin staring back at you from the wrapper. It was a cookie that made you smile before you even took a bite. Your comments keep these memories alive. Drop yours below. Step into 1985 when shiny foil wrappers hinted at something futuristic hiding inside. Peanut butter Boppers, launched by Nature Valley, looked like candy bars but held a secret heart of creamy peanut butter rolled in crunchy coatings, fudge chip, honey crisp, or peanut crunch. Unwrapping one felt almost ceremonial, the golden light catching on the glossy foil before that first decadent bite. Kids adored slipping them into lunchboxes while adults treated them as a sweet indulgence between errands. The texture was unique, firm crunch outside, soft and sticky within. But their charm carried a flaw: leave a Bopper in the sun and it turned into a melty mess. Within only a few short years, shelves emptied, not because of demand, but because the product quietly faded away. Some still call them the ultimate peanut butter snack of the decade. Others remember the sticky fingers more than the taste. Either way, Boppers embodied the bold experimentation of the 1980s snacks that swung for the fences even if they didn't last. If you're enjoying this nostalgic journey, hit like and subscribe for more trips down memory lane. Picture the candy aisle in 1989 where Mars introduced something bigger, bolder, and unapologetically heavy PB Max. This wasn't a delicate bar. It was a thick square with a crunchy cookie base, a generous slab of peanut butter, all cloaked in milk chocolate. The first bite was dense, sweet, and rich enough to make you pause and savor. For peanut butter lovers, it was heaven in a wrapper. The ads leaned into its size, poking fun at smaller candy bars and daring you to take on maximum peanut butter. And it worked. Sales reportedly soared to $50 million in its very first year. For a moment, it seemed like PB Max would become a permanent giant in the candy world. Then came the twist. Despite its success, PB Max disappeared within just a few years. Whispers spread that some in the Mars family simply disliked peanut butter and didn't want it in the lineup. Whether true or not, the decision left fans bewildered. Today, PB Max survives only as a cult memory, one of those what-if candies that could have been legendary. Think back to the late 1980s when Keebler, famous for its cookies, decided to try something daring. Instead of sweets, they brought out O'Boisies baked potato crisps puffed with tiny air bubbles that gave them a light, unexpected crunch. Open a bag and the smell of sour cream and onion or bold barbecue hit you instantly, the seasoning dust clinging to your fingers as you munched away. They were different from the smooth, familiar potato chips of the time. Baked instead of fried O'Boisies carved out a small niche as the healthier alternative, though they still packed plenty of salty satisfaction. Kids loved trading them at school, and adults kept bags for late-night snacking. For a moment, it seemed Keebler had pulled off a surprise hit outside the cookie aisle, but as trends shifted and the market crowded, O'Boisies lost steam. By the late 1990s, they quietly disappeared, leaving only faint memories of that bubbly crunch. They remain one of Keebler's boldest experiments, proof that even cookie makers sometimes dream beyond the oven. Thinking back, would you rather revisit the creamy heft of PB Max, the bubbly crunch of O'Boisies, or the sticky sweetness of peanut butter Boppers? Step into the late 1980s when the makers of Hubba Bubba gum decided to turn childhood's favorite chew into a drink. The result, Hubba Bubba soda, a bright pink liquid that promised the fun of bubble gum in fizzy form. Kids couldn't resist the novelty. Seeing the familiar gum logo splashed across soda cans felt like discovering a secret doorway into Candyland. Crack one open and the sweetness hit instantly. It tasted exactly like bubble gum, which was both its charm and its curse. For some, it was a playful sugar rush, but for others, it was overwhelming, like trying to drink liquid gum. The excitement carried it for a short time, but repeat buyers were rare. By the early 1990s, the soda disappeared quietly from store shelves. Even so, its memory remains vivid. Hubba Bubba soda was one of those only in the 80s experiments, colorful, bold, and just a little too wild to last. Looking back now, between the bold PB Max, the Oreo Boisies, and the bubblegum soda, which of these forgotten flavors would you bring back for one more taste? Now, picture a lunch table in the late 1980s when kids unwrapped not fruit roll-ups, but something stranger, pudding roll-ups. Instead of tangy fruit sheets, these came in dessert flavors like chocolate, vanilla, and banana. At first glance, it felt like a dream pudding you could peel, roll, and eat with your fingers. The packaging was colorful, the idea playful, and every kid wanted to try it at least once. But reality didn't live up to the promise. The sheets were sticky, clung to fingers and lunch bags, and left more mess than joy. Parents groaned about the sugar rush and the sticky stains on clothes, while kids quietly drifted back to their fruit snacks and candy bars. Within only a short time, pudding roll-ups vanished from shelves, remembered mostly as one of Betty Crocker's quirkiest experiments. Even today, the thought sparks both a smile and a shake of the head. It was a snack that tried to reinvent pudding, but ended up as one of the sweetest flops of the decade. Don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgia and retro memories. And there you have it, 10 unforgettable snacks from the 1980s that promised so much, but couldn't stand the test of time. From cookies with hidden centers, to sodas that tasted like bubble gum, each one left behind a story as bold as the decade itself. Maybe you tried them all, or maybe you only remember one or two, but together they capture the wild experimental spirit of the era. Which of these snacks would you bring back if you had the chance? Don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgia and retro memories. We've got plenty more trips down memory lane waiting for you.